The African National Congress will convene its 5th National General Council in Ekurhuleni from today until Thursday, the 11th of December 2025. It'll be held under the theme, the Year of Renewal, to make the ANC a more effective instrument of the people to achieve the vision of the Freedom Charter. The people shall govern, the people shall share in the wealth of the country. Now, the NGC comes at a time when the party has lost its majority rule in last year's national elections and with reports of internal, organisational and leadership challenges. To talk more about this, let's cross over to Sakina. And Sakina is joined by political reporter, SABC News Senior Political reporter, Samkele Maseko. Sakina, good morning.
Morning once more, Leanne, and welcome back to Birchwood. And of course, we are expecting proceedings to get underway officially at 10 a.m. this morning. But of course, before then, we will see some of the dignitaries arriving, as well as the leadership of the African National Congress. We know that a lot of the members are actually here at Birchwood Hotel, where they are staying. So many of them come through yesterday. So it seems as though everything is in place to get underway at the appropriate time. But of course, I'm joined by Samkele Maseko, Sam, another NGC. So we haven't had one in a while, and that was due to COVID-19. But this is, of course, a midterm review for the ANC. It's not just about looking at policy formulation going into the next general election of the ANC, but it is, of course, also an opportunity to track progress in terms of how the ANC has fared in over the past 2.5 years regarding the policies that they adopted at the last elective Congress. So it is taking place against the backdrop, as Leanne was indicating, of a lot of public sentiment that is not favorable to the ANC at the moment. We know about 20 kilometers down the road over the weekend, there was the most unfortunate situation of a witness of the Madlanga Commission being gunned down. It's happening against that sort of backdrop.
Indeed, it is happening on that backdrop where you've got a number of issues plaguing South Africa, plaguing South Africa's justice and particularly the state apparatus when it looks into security matters. It's going to be rather interesting in the political overview report that would be delivered by the President of the African National Congress, particularly after the 2024 general election, the constitution of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, the ad hoc committee in Parliament, looking to allegations of elements of state capture when it comes to law enforcement agencies within the country, particularly within this metropoli where we are currently at in Ekurhuleni JMPD, where you've got the likes of Julius Mkhwanazi, who is the deputy chief of EMPD, who's accused of all sorts of manner of things. Witness D, whom has just been gunned down recently, did make those particular allegations of how this particular individual instructed them to dump a body of a deceased illegally killed by rogue EMPD police officers in a mine shaft or in a dam, allegations of wrongdoing within the state South African police service and other state security apparatus systems. So it's going to be rather interesting when you look at that political report, but also the large overview of the performance of the South African economy. He's a very stiffler for detail when it comes to the performance of the South African economy. He's going to focus extensively on that particular part and the issue of geopolitics, particularly with the issues of South Africa and the United States of America, a successful G20, the South Africa has just recently hosted. And you look at the agenda, forces against transformation. That's one of the agenda items that's going to be discussed. That's going to be extensive, particularly looking at the likes of Zuko Limpi, who chairs the ANC's Economic Transformation Subcommittee, looking into trade issues with the United States of America, South Africa's relations within the BRICS formation, the development of the global South, the developing global South. And it's going to be some of those particular points that the President is going to touch on. But the ones that will be rather interesting for the likes of Sophie Mokoena will be the issues of the United States of America. So it's going to be a myriad of issues. One assumes it's going to be a very comprehensive political overview report that will look at the balance of forces domestically, globally, but also the government of national unity. Should they have worked with the DA and the Freedom Front Plus.
And that, of course, is going to be a critical discussion. It is, of course, an assessment as well of 30 years of democracy. And again, sketching the background that you did, how has the ANC fared in those 30 years of democracy, giving its dwindling electoral fortunes? You know, what does that say? What does the levels of mistrust between the ANC and the general public state? Because that is reflected in its electoral decline.
If you look at that particular issue, you go back as far as 1998 Mahikeng Conference of the ANC. If you look at the political report that was tabled by the late former statesman and former president of the ANC, Nelson Mandela, which spoke about how the ills of money had creeped into ANC branches, how ANC leaders had started moving away from their communities, going to suburbs, leaving the people behind, creating that deficit, that gap between the population and the African National Congress. Fast forward to political reports delivered by former President Mbeki, the same. Go to former President Zuma, the same. Then go to the 2017 Nasrec Conference of the ANC, the organizational report delivered by Kwede Mantashe, and the diagnostic report of the consultative conference that took place of that particular trust deficit between the people and the ANC, the intellectual and ideological bankruptcy of ANC branches. Then come to the 2024 general election, where the ANC was literally wiped out in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, wiped out in areas such as Mkondo, in Mpumalanga, come to parts of Gauteng, the hostile areas, largely dominated by Zulu-speaking people, wiped out and obliterated within those particular areas. So it's going to look extensively at the ANC's weaknesses organizationally and the so-called renewal that the ANC has embarked on. Have they really renewed themselves? Are they trying to renew themselves? Can you renew yourself whilst you are still enjoying the largesse of government? You look at the bitter battles that took place in the region of Johannesburg between Dada Murero and Loyiso Masuku, and how that political overview report of Dada Murero said you have to choose between renewal that we are embarking on and the fruits that we are seeing in government, or you choose between money. Castigating that those who were his opponents who beat him at that regional conference were using money to win that particular regional conference. And you look at the likes of how many ANC leaders have said that money now determines who leads the African National Congress. And just a case an example, the ANC Youth League conference that will take place in the next few weeks in Limpopo, issues of money once again. So it's going to be rather interesting how they deal with this particular issue of money, or is it just lip service as we've seen over the years? 30 years of democracy, someone in Alexandra would say, nah, I've not enjoyed democracy.
Well, these are some of the themes under discussion here at the 5th NGC of the African National Congress. And as Samkele Maseko says, if you look at the organizational report at the Mahikeng conference in 1998, and you look at the first NGC pronouncements by then President Thabo Mbeki, already outlining the issues that Samkele Maseko speaks to about people being opportunistically, absorbed into the ANC or making their way, finding membership and expression in the branches opportunistically for their own selfish purposes. Well, those things have been identified a long time ago. And one thing we know is that the ANC is masterful at diagnosing its own problems. But it is, of course, the self-correction part of it that seems to be a little more difficult. And that is, of course, what the delegates here at Birchwood would be busying themselves with.